Go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the L Tour Zoom podcast. I'm joined by Tucson cyclist Bobby Verenna. How are you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thank you. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Good to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
How did you get to Tucson? I don't think you're a native.
Well, it's a long roundabout story. I was born back east. My parents moved here when I was 4. I grew up in Tucson. I went to high school and college, and then I left. And I left for 17 years. And I lived in Denver. And I'm walking down the street in Denver at an art festival, and here comes this beautiful young lady walking the other direction. And so we start chatting. Turns out she was from Tucson. Not only was she from Tucson, she went to South Point High School. I went to South Point High School. She went to the U of A. I went to the U of A. Short story long, she is now my wife. We have 2 beautiful kids, and we decided we wanted to raise our kids close to our families, and so we moved back to Tucson about 5 years ago.
Talk about small world and serendipity.
Oh my goodness, couldn't have. I'm a little bit older. We were never in high school at the same time, but she's real close to my little sister. So her and my little sister were acquaintances and have all the same friends, so yeah. Talk about a small. I always say it's a small world until you have to walk somewhere. Turned out walking that night was great for us.
Well, now you cycle, so it gets you there faster. What got you into cycling?
Exactly. Well, that's another one of those crazy stories too. I originally was a speed skater, a roller speed skater here in Tucson. I grew up at Skate Country North and started speed skating, competing in speed skating competitions all around the country, and then started racing a bike or training on the bike as cross training. At the same time, I grew up working at a bike shop. My best friend's parents bought a bike shop when I was in like 6th grade, and I started out breaking down boxes and patching inner tubes. And that grew to, once I graduated from college, I became a regional sales rep for a bicycle company, and then I became a designer for a bicycle company. So I lived in Los Angeles for a few years and worked on the design aspects. Ultimately, I ended up owning a couple of bike stores in Denver and have just been, so since the 8th grade, when I started cross training for speed skating, I started riding racing bikes and quit speed skating and have been racing bikes ever since.
Wow, what a story. What a story. Nice. What are your thoughts on Tucson cycling or cycling in Tucson?
Oh, my goodness. I've been fortunate to have traveled the world with my bicycle, part of it for work, part of it for pleasure. Tucson is one of the best cycling cities in the world. And I know we've won national accolades for that, and they are so well deserved. Everything from the topography or the geography of where and how to ride and what we get to ride, to the friendliness of most of the drivers, and just the way that cycling is embraced in the city, of which El Tour de Tucson is a huge part of that. It's really put cycling on the maps and in the minds of people that live here. And so it's been cycling, El Tour, and Tucson have been great for each other.
In fact, you've ridden the new route. Just your thoughts on it, the beauty of it, the difficulty of it, if that's the right word. If not the difficulty, but the beauty of it.
Sure. I'm excited about the new route, and I was fortunate enough to go out and ride it almost a couple times now. And it's great. It really showcases what is the beauty of Tucson. Going out by Saguaro National Monument, which people come to Tucson to see that. Out by Colossal Cave, you really get to see what is some of the best rides in Tucson. One of the most famous rides in all the world is the Tucson Shootout, which is every Saturday. The new Tour de Tucson route shares some of the Shootout routes. As for difficulty, I think it's a great blend. There's just under about 3,000 feet of climbing over the 100 miles. So it makes it hard enough that it is a good challenging route. And it's not too hard to discourage the everyday cyclist, the cycling tourist, the people that want to come out and ride and have a good time. So this route really offers kind of the something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no river crossings, which was the face of El Tour de Tucson for years. And so for me personally, I loved the river crossings, but I also understand that for the masses, they weren't the most favorite. So those people that didn't come because of the river crossings, well, we've built the tour for you now.
Right, no question. There's a lot more cyclists on the streets now on the loop. Given the pandemic, they're buying bikes, they're going out, enjoying the new. Maybe a tip or two for the first-time rider or the novice?
Well, the biggest thing about cycling is time in the saddle. You have to get out and ride your bike, get comfortable with the bike, get comfortable with the routes that you're going to ride, whether it be the loop or up Mount Lemmon or out by Solar National Monument. It's about just spending time, and if you have the ability, get with a friend or someone that you know that's a little bit more experienced, and learn from them the rights and the wrongs and the things to do and not to do. And for example, we took my family and I took another entire family out for a ride on the loop yesterday. So there were 8 of us, 4 adults and 4 kids, and we went for a whopping 4 miles. And it was fantastic. It was great. And we wanted to introduce them to cycling, and that because we have the loop with no cars and it was a safe environment, that's where we chose to take them. And the littlest one is 4 years old, and she was out there riding on her training wheels 4 miles, and it was a blast. She had a smile ear to ear the whole time.
So what you're telling me, it's a ride for everyone. Of course,
Absolutely.
Cycling's for everybody.
Absolutely. It is from 4-year-olds to 104. It's easy on the body. It's easy to do. There's a relatively low barrier to entry. You can borrow a bike. You can buy a bike. You can rent a bike. One of the things that we saw on the loop yesterday was the proliferation of electric bikes, which I think is a great new thing to get more and more people involved in cycling. So yes, cycling's for everybody.
You've talked a little about El Tour. If you could, how many times have you ridden it? 1, and 2, maybe a favorite part of it?
I should know this answer, how many times I've ridden it, but I don't. I've ridden it somewhere between 12 and 18 times. I lived here and I rode it, and I moved away, and I came back almost every year to ride it. And now I live here again, and of course I ride it every year. So somewhere between 12 and 18 times. I've lost track. And then my favorite part, it's gone. I mentioned it earlier. My favorite part was the river crossings. I absolutely loved it. It added a piece of adventure to a bike ride. And when I lived in Colorado and raced up there, I would sell El Tour to my racing buddies around the river crossings. I'm like, come down and do this race. You're going to race with 10,000 of your best friends. And we have to cross 2 rivers. And then I'd have to explain to them, well, in Tucson, there's actually no water, or typically there's no water in the rivers. And so it just adds this element of fun and adventure that no other ride had anything like it. So I'm going to miss that personally. In our new route, it is come down and ride quintessential Tucson cycling routes. I mean, everyone that's ever pinned a number on has heard of the shootout. And so with the new route taking on part of the shootout, I think it's great people can come out and ride part of the shootout route and really enjoy some quintessential Arizona cycling.
Right. In fact, if anybody has not ridden in El Tour, please come on board and have some fun. If you haven't registered yet, please do go to eltourdetucson.org. You'll get all the information you need. It's an easy registration. I'm sure you have a number of friends in it, Senor Bobby.
Oh, absolutely. Well, on the registration piece, I registered day 1. I didn't want to miss. And with the pandemic that we have going on, yes, we're not sure, or we weren't sure then what's going to happen. And I said, it doesn't matter. I want to support this event. I want to make sure my name's on the registration list, and I wanted to get registered to make sure that El Tour knew that I was in and could plan accordingly, and that my friends and associates knew that I was in, and encourage them to come out and join me.
Well, Bobby, thanks for joining on the first Zoom podcast for El Tour. Appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. I'm honored to be here, and good luck with everything this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bobby.